Opened couple reviews where I tell a tale as old as time. I would say my views on Beauty and the Beast are perhaps more mixed than that of any other Disney princess film, except for Frozen 2. I grew up loving it and certainly recognized the great animation and music that went into it, but the writer of this film, Linda Wolverton, went on to write Maleficent 2014, which is my least favorite film of all time. She's also the villain behind the live-action Alice in Wonderland movies, and you blamed Tim Burton. With that in mind, I seriously questioned whether Beauty and the Beast was truly deserving of its grand reputation. Upon rewatching the film, I've convinced myself that the writing is not as good as one might remember, and that Linda Wolverton does not deserve credit for the film's success. Adding to my mixed feelings for Beauty and the Beast is the fact that I just don't have much of a connection with Belle. I mean, sure, she's hot and she has a good singing voice, but she's not as sweet as Snow White or Cinderella. She's not as fun as Anna or Rapunzel. She's not as charming as Merida or Ariel, and despite her strong female reputation, she's not as capable as Elena or Elsa. But maybe I just need to take another look. Let's begin. We begin with exposition about how the Beast was cursed.
The prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind.
Show don't tell, what's that? Basically, he has roughly 10 years to find mutual love or else he stays like this forever. We then cut to Belle, who strolls around town during the song Bonjour.
Bonjour! 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 Bonjour!
This song tells us that Belle is seen as a funny girl by the townspeople. The only reason people around the town think she's odd is because she's a woman who likes to read.
With a dreamy thought, and her nose stuck in a book. What a puzzle to the rest of us is there.
And before you ask, no, that stigma did not actually exist in France in this time period. During the song, Gaston sings about how he wants Belle to be his wife because she's the most beautiful woman in town.
The most beautiful girl in town.
I know, Belle.
I would argue she's the fourth, but okay. After the song is over, Gaston talks to Belle about how the whole town is gossiping about her book addiction. Gaston is a jerk to her, throwing her book into the mud and spouting nonsense.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
His behavior is rightfully frowned upon, but what no one ever talks about is the fact that Belle does a pretty horrible job of communicating her lack of interest. She calls him primeval, but when he takes that as a compliment, she doesn't bother to correct him. And watch how she responds to being asked out by him.
You say you and me take a walk over to the tavern and take a look at my trophies.
Maybe some other time.
No. No! Don't you know that if you tell a boy maybe some other time, he's going to think you meant it? All she's doing is giving him false hope that she might respond better to his flirting when she's less busy. She even uses her father as an excuse to end their conversation rather than admit she doesn't appreciate his company.
Please, Gaston, I can't. I have to get home to help my father.
The proper thing to do would have been to tell him she's not interested in his advances. Later, Belle's father winds up in the Beast's castle, and the Beast does not appreciate the unexpected company. It quickly becomes clear that the Beast has let his curse turn him even more cruel, rather than making him recognize his need to better himself. The Beast overreacts and draws unfair conclusions, culminating in his decision to lock him in the dungeon.
So, you've come to stare at the beast, have you?
Please, I meant no harm. I just needed a place to stay.
I'll give you a place to stay.
Oh, please.
It's kind of true to life that his punishments didn't actually cause him to reform. I would argue that prison systems need more of an effort to encourage inmates to do better when they get out. Gaston is so convinced that Belle will be his wife that he arranges and sets up the wedding before he even proposes to her.
I'd like to thank you all for coming to my wedding. First, I better go in there and propose to the girl.
And just as before, Belle has no intention of telling it like it is.
Gaston, what a pleasant surprise.
Liar! Gaston is rude enough in this scene to justify Belle asking him to leave, yet she smiles at him as he describes a marriage between them.
We'll have 6 or 7.
Dogs?
No, Belle. Strapping boys like me.
Imagine that.
Belle doesn't go along with the wedding, but her way of getting out of it continues her tradition of feeding his delusions.
I'm very sorry, Gaston, but I just don't deserve you.
Whoa!
She knew what she was doing when she said that.
Can you imagine? He asked me to marry him. Me, the wife of that boorish, brainless...
Where was that kind of talk when Gaston was in earshot? If you don't tell him how it is, he's just gonna keep coming. I'm not defending Gaston's sexism or his later attempts to coerce her into marriage, but Belle sets a bad example of how to deal with unwanted advances, and she's never called out for it. Belle finds her father imprisoned in the castle and is horrified to discover what's keeping him there. When the Beast comes into the light, they show off his great character design. Much better than the crap they had in that live-action movie. He looks way too human in the live-action version. The Beast is supposed to be someone that you empathize with in spite of his appearance, not because of it. So it's better for him to look more animalistic and less human. Belle pleads for her father's freedom and offers herself in return.
Take me instead.
You would take his place?
The Beast is moved by her selfless sacrifice, and he accepts the offer because he'd rather have a hot girl locked in his castle than an old man. And to her credit, it was a selfless act, until it wasn't. A while ago, Disney released a twisted tale about Beauty and the Beast, where the premise was, what if Belle's mother cursed the Beast? That book, I couldn't even get through the first third of it. I dropped it so quickly. It was so bad. And one thing that especially jumped out to me was a scene where Belle agrees to stay with the Beast. In the book, they spun it like she was setting things up so she could outsmart the Beast and escape. I'm pretty sure that was what was happening. I didn't go much further than that, so I don't know if she actually did many escape attempts. So in the book, they sort of bypassed the idea of her giving up her own freedom for her father. But the twisted tales are by definition not canon, so you don't need to say that's what's actually happening in the movie. Belle cries over not being able to say goodbye to her father, and the Beast feels guilty enough about his conduct to let Belle stay someplace other than the jail cell.
I'll show you to your room.
This being the first sign of anything other than cruelty she's seen from the Beast, Belle is confused, but she doesn't argue.
My room? But I thought...
You want to stay in the tower?
No.
Then follow me.
Lumiere suggests that the Beast invite her to dinner, hoping that Belle will be the one to break the curse. However, Lumiere was envisioning him asking nicely, which turned out to be too much to hope for.
You will join me for dinner. That's not a request!
The next scene with Gaston reveals that he actually is aware of Belle's lack of interest, despite her best efforts to conceal that fact.
Who does she think she is? That girl has tangled with the wrong man. No one says no to Gaston.
He starts thinking about how to use Belle's father to force a marriage with her, but that doesn't pick up steam for a while, so don't worry about that right now. Dinner is prepared, but Belle refuses to eat with the Beast.
What? I thought I told you to come down for dinner!
I'm not hungry.
The way the Beast talks in this scene is reminiscent of a child being told to apologize to his sister.
That may not be the best way to win the girl's affection. He attempt to be a gentleman, but
She is being so difficult!
Gently, gently.
Will you come down to dinner?
No.
Which makes sense when you think about how the Beast was cursed when he was a spoiled child. And ever since then, no one's had the courage to tell him to grow up.
It would give me great pleasure if you would join me for dinner. Please.
No, thank you.
You can't stay in there forever!
Yes, I can.
Fine! Die! If she doesn't eat me, then she doesn't eat.
So I guess this scene is written alright. If I don't give credit where credit is due, you might think I have some sort of bias against the sexist, no-talent hack that wrote this movie. But now I get to talk about one of the biggest shortcomings of the script. Disney's Beauty and the Beast isn't funny.
If there's anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable.
Ow! Let's see what I got in my drawers. Oh! How embarrassing.
Late neoclassic Baroque period. And as I always say, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it.
Most of the jokes in this movie are cheap slapstick that don't go far enough over the top to be funny, while not being grounded enough to be believable. Take this joke, for example.
Music?
Music!
The idea of the door swinging back hard enough to knock a clock his size halfway across the kitchen just isn't physics. Especially when you question how the door's impact launched him to a higher altitude. A lack of realism in physical comedy can be accepted if it yields hilarious results, but this simply doesn't compare to other comedic cartoons that were released long before Beauty and the Beast.
He's in the clear.
don't say that they could only go so far with slapstick because the film still wants to be taken seriously and can't afford to make over-the-top bombardments inconsequential, because other films found ways to break the laws of physics for some characters while others must obey, like Genie from Aladdin or Olaf from Frozen. In those films, the majority of the characters are still subject to harm, but the comic relief characters have explanations built into what they are that allow them to be exempt from the rules.
That's better.
So you're not at all afraid of her?
Why would I be?
Yeah, I bet she's the nicest, gentlest, warmest person ever.
That's something that could have been done with the castle's staff, but their slapstick isn't any more over the top than what happens with the human characters. And to add insult to injury, Belle herself never participates in the slapstick. The line of thinking is obviously that pain is only funny when it happens to men. That's a problem that appears in many films, but it's especially worth pointing out in this character, who's hailed as a feminist symbol. Instead of being allowed to be as funny as the male characters, she's treated as fragile, and as if it would be a tragedy too tragic to laugh at if she so much as stubbed a toe. I would allow for the excuse that not every character needs to be funny, if there are any female characters who get knocked around for the sake of comedy the same as any man, but there isn't any. And don't try to tell me that suffering humiliation would interfere with her place as the highly desirable woman who everyone wants, because Anna and Rapunzel are both hilarious and it only adds to their appeal. Belle was told specifically not to enter the West Wing, so where do you think she goes? Took her one night to break the only rule. By the way, Belle only reaches the West Wing because Lumiere and Cogsworth lost track of her when they should have been keeping better track of her than ever. Did I mention that the writer is not to be thanked for this film's success? I understand that the Beast locked up her father and keeps yelling at her, so she just doesn't have a reason to respect the Beast's wishes at this point. But on the other hand, this is a dumb move because she has little incentive to enter the West Wing and had potentially very big consequences to consider. She had just got relocated out of the dungeon and was already pushing the Beast's buttons, yet she didn't even think about what would happen if she was caught. Now you could handwave this as worth the risk if you could tell me what the point of it was. There's two possibilities about why Belle entered the West Wing. I didn't read the Twisted Tale long enough to know what the book's explanation was, so I'm just going to draw conclusions based off of what the movie shows us. The first explanation is that she just let pure curiosity override her common sense and didn't bother to measure the risks and rewards. The second explanation is that Belle thought the West Wing might have had something that could help her defeat the Beast and escape. This explanation does not hold up in court for multiple reasons. Up until this point, Belle had been acting as though she was going to honor her deal with the Beast by staying in the castle. And directly after she gets caught and the Beast freaks out, it's made clear that all Belle needs to do to escape is make a break for the door. The only thing keeping Belle there was her word, and she only goes back on that after the Beast goes berserk.
Where are you going?
Promise or no promise, I can't stay here another minute.
Oh no, wait, please, please wait.
And the only reason that didn't work is because she happened to run into a pack of wolves. But let's back up a bit. When the Beast catches Belle in the West Wing, his reaction should automatically make him not boyfriend material.
Hey, stop!
Get out!
No!
If she hadn't moved, he would have killed her just then. I know that the Beast immediately regrets this, but that doesn't mean this isn't a red flag. In real life, if a potential lover acts like this, you shouldn't set up a second date with them. I'm not saying people can't change, but an innocent person shouldn't have to be put in this kind of danger for the slight chance of the attacker's redemption. The film conveniently threw in a life-threatening situation so that they could quickly undo his violent outburst. Belle tries to escape and gets surrounded by a pack of wolves who waited until now to attack anyone. And then the Beast comes in to fight off all the wolves while she cowers in fear. This is your strong female role model? You think Rapunzel would have let Eugene handle all the wolves himself? You think Elena would have just laid back and waited for someone else to take care of business? Never. There is a conversation to be had about whether Belle's lack of participation in the fight makes her a worse strong female character or a better one. If there's an argument to be made for Belle not helping, it's that Belle shouldn't have to be good at things that are seen as masculine in order to be considered strong. Most men have biological advantages in combat, so you can't just call all women who can't fight like a man weak. But that's just me presenting the other side of the argument. I do not agree with Belle not helping here. This film only enforces the idea that it's only the man's responsibility to endure pain, and that it's only the woman's responsibility to soothe pain. There's no part of the film where Belle has to take a beating for the Beast, and there's no scene where the Beast comforts Belle when she's in pain. After the Beast falls over, Belle considers leaving, but she decides to help him get back to the castle since he saved her life. I think that Belle was conveniently ignoring this question. What was the Beast going to do if he caught up to her and there was no wolves around? When he was chasing after her, not knowing she was in danger, he was probably planning to drag her back to the castle, kicking and screaming. Now I unfortunately have to talk about positives again, but I'll try to find ways to give credit to people other than the writer, and don't worry, we will have more complaints before the day is out. Belle and the Beast get into an argument after returning to the castle. Throughout the Beast's yelling, Belle doesn't let him intimidate her, proving to everyone that she's not afraid to tell him to grow up.
That hurts!
If you'd hold still, it wouldn't
You
hurt as
hadn't
much.
run away.
If you hadn't frightened me, I wouldn't have run away.
Well, you shouldn't
Well,
have been
you
in the
should
West
learn to control
Wing.
your temper.
To make things better, their conversation ends with positive words.
Thank you for saving my life.
You're welcome.
At this point, we've seen the last of the cold and cruel Beast who locked up Belle's father and threatened to starve her if she didn't eat with him. He's seen the error of his ways, and from this point forward, the Beast is always caring for Belle and doing things to make her happy. Many people have stated that Belle doesn't try to change the Beast as much as she's a reason for the Beast to change himself. The Beast can't get what he wants by shouting at her, so he has to become a gentleman. I wouldn't say it's a baseless claim that Belle didn't try to change him, but I wouldn't agree with that either. The main way the Beast changes is by putting in the effort to become a man she can love, but she is trying to improve him wherever she can. Belle helps the Beast do things he isn't used to doing, and she bends to meet him halfway, thus encouraging his progress. The Beast decides that he wants to do something nice for Belle, so he brings her to his giant library and tells her that the whole place is hers. This was a really good idea, not just because it's a massive gift, but also because it's a much welcome change of pace for Belle. She's used to people thinking that her book reading is strange, and then the Beast not only encourages her hobby, but gave her the means to further enjoy her hobby. I might have pointed out that the stigma against women reading didn't exist in this setting, but a lot of people have experienced having someone look down on their interests, and that does make it all the sweeter when someone is all for it. Then comes the montage. I always say the montage is a good way to justify the characters loving each other as much as you want them to. If this movie jumped straight from their arguments to the ballroom scene, we would have wondered why they have such strong feelings for each other right in the climax. The thing about the montage is that you know they're only showing the bits and pieces of what's going on, so you know that they must have been doing a lot more. Apparently 2 other films happened in the span of this montage. And before you ask, no, I will not be making videos about the straight-to-DVD sequels. I made the horrible mistake of reviewing Cinderella 2 and it nearly killed me. During the montage, we get singing which I will remind you is not written by Linda Wolverton, probably not anyway. The Beast sings, well, his inner monologue sings about him getting signs from Belle that she's interested, which he can't help but doubt.
She glanced this way, I thought I saw. And when we touched, she didn't shudder at my paw. No, it can't be, I'll just ignore. But then she's never looked at me that way before.
Belle liking him goes against what the Beast has come to expect, and he hesitates to get his hopes up for fear of disappointment. But the part of his brain that thinks she's interested seems to win out. And Belle, she mentally sings about how the Beast isn't the kind of man she read about in fairy tales, but his newly found playful spirits and effort to make her happy is more important than things like elegance.
New and a bit alarming. Who'd have ever thought that this could be true? That he's no Prince Charming, but there's something in him that I simply didn't see.
But remember that those were song lyrics that probably weren't written by Linda Wolverton. You know what most likely was written by Linda Wolverton? This.
What's there, Mama?
I'll tell you when you're older.
What? Does Linda Wolverton think children can't know what love is? Does Linda Wolverton think that children won't be watching this romantic film from Disney? Okay, fine, this segment, it was unclear in terms of who wrote what. I just think it would make sense if Linda wrote the bad stuff and someone else wrote the good stuff. Listen, if you are someone who is convinced that Linda Wolverton is brilliant and deserves all the credit for Beauty and the Beast, I challenge you. Watch Disney's live-action Alice Through the Looking Glass and try to tell me she's a good writer. Disney's live-action Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass had different directors, but Linda Wolverton wrote them both.
So if this had survived, my family must have too.
Hello? What do you think, pets? Oh, dig, dig, dig. Quack, quack, quack. Earthquake.
I have not ticked my last talk yet.
Now, if you watched Through the Looking Glass, the whole movie, I defy you to look me in the eyes and tell me she's a good writer. Anyway, the Beast prepares for his dance with Belle. He's still unsure of himself, but he doesn't let that stop him.
And when the moment is right, you confess your love.
Yes. No, I can't.
You care for the girl, don't you?
More than anything.
Linda Wolverton couldn't have designed the costumes, could she? No, of course not. These two look good. Belle looks better than ever in that dress, while the Beast's... I hesitate to say better. I mean, he looks pretty good shirtless with a cape, but this suit is fitting for where he's supposed to be as a character. Early on, the Beast made a habit of leaning into the behavior that's expected from a Beast. He even walked around on all fours. At this point, the Beast is trying to act more human, so he wears the same look he goes on to wear when he's human again. The dance between the Beast and Belle has more going for it than just a dance. I love the way Belle places the hand positions and the way she leans her head onto his massive chest. The way they physically interact with each other is enough to make me wish the Beast could still... We're getting ahead of ourselves. I'll talk about the transformation later.
Belle? Are you happy here with me?
Yes.
What is it?
If only I could see my father again.
The Beast hands Belle a magic mirror so she can see her father, but it turns out that her father is freezing and in need of help.
Then you must go to him.
I'm free?
Yes.
Okay. It's sweet and all that he's willing to let her go if that's what's best for her, but let's list the things wrong with this scene. 1. The Beast doesn't even try to ask her to come back after she makes sure her father is okay, nor does Belle assure him that she'll be back. It's as if he thinks that once she leaves the castle, she'll have no more interest in him. 2. The Beast could have just gone with Belle to help her father. Sure, her father would have been terrified, but it would have been the right idea since the Beast would have had an opportunity to apologize for his prior conduct. 3. I could have applauded him being selfless if it wasn't for the fact that this isn't just about him. The entire castle staff was unjustly cursed along with him to pieces of furniture. And if the Beast doesn't break the spell, then they'll stay that way. I would argue that the humanity of that many people is more important than the life of one person. The live-action version tried to give an explanation for why the Enchantress cursed the staff along with the Beast, but what they came up with just makes it worse. Basically what they said was when the king was being abusive to the Beast, the castle staff didn't do anything to stop the king, which they couldn't have been expected to. Another thing that was worse about the staff in the live-action version was the threat of them getting the life sucked out of them if the spell wasn't broken, which means the Beast's decision to prioritize Belle's father meant that he was potentially sacrificing all their lives. And 4, why isn't the spell broken? The Beast clearly loves Belle.
Because I love her.
And Belle has been throwing sign after sign that she's in love with him at the screen.
He's finally learned to love.
That's it then. That should break the spell.
But it's not enough. She has to love him in return.
The fine print in the curse clearly stated that in order to break the spell, the cursee must love another person, and that person must reciprocate said emotions. That means they love each other, so this should be over. And now that I think about it, the contract never stipulated that the form of love had to be romantic. The castle staff seemed to like him. Did he never care about any of them? Hang on.
If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return.
Ah, so the rules use the word her to describe the type of love he needs. So is it not possible for him to receive some sort of motherly love from Mrs. Potts? Frozen hadn't come out yet, so filmmakers didn't know any better back then. So Belle leaves to rescue her father. Long story short, Gaston threatens to put her father in the loony bin if she doesn't marry him. She refuses, and also Gaston mobilizes a mob to storm the Beast's castle. So the mob sings a very good song, and then partakes in a battle of cheap slapstick. Despite knowing they were coming, the Beast didn't do anything to prepare.
What should we do, Master?
It doesn't matter now. Just let them come.
And here we get to a huge problem. Gaston finds the Beast and begins the process of killing him. Being sad and lonely, the Beast doesn't fight back, thinking that he has nothing to live for. Okay. It wasn't a bad idea for the Beast to almost commit suicide by Gaston. Problem is, he doesn't realize that his life has value until Belle comes back.
Belle.
No! Gaston, don't!
It would have been much more uplifting if the turning point was the Beast looking back at all the progress he's made as a person and found the will to live off of his own merits. Instead, the film just told the audience that their lives aren't worth living if their crush doesn't feel the same way. Your girl left you? I guess you better let yourself die. Oh wait, she came back. Never mind, your life has meaning again. Where's the uplifting message of even if you strike out this time, you're still going to be okay? If worse came to worse, there would have been someone else out there who would be into the Beast's monstrous appearance. And he would have had an easier time winning her over with his reformed personality. Why couldn't that have been brought up? Yet again, we can compare this film to Frozen, with Frozen being the better example. I'm convinced that when Hans was about to kill Elsa, she knew what he was doing and was going to let him. Anna heard Hans pull out his sword from way over there. There's no way Elsa didn't hear that when Hans was right behind her. Mere minutes after Elsa was about to let herself die, she unfreezes the kingdom, a task that she didn't think she was capable of. Sure, Anna's act of true love helped Elsa, but Elsa gets the message that she was wrong to doubt her ability, and she was wrong to think that her powers were a curse. Elsa is told that she is loved and her life has value. Beast is told that his life has value because he is loved. So Beast fights Gaston in a duel that decides who Belle will marry. That's how feminism works, by letting the men decide her fates through fighting each other. This is your strong female role model? The only thing Belle does to help the Beast win is show up. If Belle had done something, anything, to turn the tide of battle in the Beast's favor, that would have been Belle proving that the Beast gets the girl not because he's stronger, but because he's a good man and who she wants to be with. And that who she marries isn't going to be decided by the outcome of a competition she didn't agree to. Instead, Belle is just lucky that the competitor she happened to be rooting for just happened to have bigger muscles than the other guy. The Beast has the opportunity to kill Gaston, but doesn't because he doesn't want to be a monster.
Let me go! Let me go! Please, don't hurt me! I'll do anything! Anything!
Get out.
A decision that ends up backfiring when Gaston stabs him. Thankfully, gravity fixes the Beast's mistake.
It's better this way.
Don't talk like that. We're together now. Everything's going to be fine.
At least I got to see you one last time.
That's the only thing that makes life worth living. Belle tells the Beast she loves him, and that's when the curse finally decides to break.
I love you.
So the Beast turns back into a human. For the 1000th time, Frozen did it better. In Frozen, Elsa realizes that her powers were only a curse because of how she was handling them, and she grows to love her powers. In this, the Beast has to abandon what should be beneficial. Being a beast was the only way he was able to save Belle from the wolves, and the only reason he could beat Gaston. Instead of embracing the brighter side of what makes him different, he conforms to what's normal. I always thought that if I were the Beast, I would have wanted to be able to switch between beast and human forms whenever I wanted. I wouldn't have wanted to lose all that And from Belle's perspective, seeing this massive beast be so gentle was part of his appeal, and that comes across when she's initially off-put by the change. She's only reassured by looking into his eyes, which are the only visual characteristics that remained unchanged.
Belle, it's me.
It is you.
I think it was kind of dumb that she didn't know it was him until then, but okay. I mean, she saw him transform. It's not like he found her after being a beast last time she checked. Let's wrap this up. Belle and Adam, his name is Adam. They never said that in the movie, but I'm not calling him the Beasts anymore because he's not a beast anymore. Belle and Adam kiss each other so hard it transforms the castle and the staff. These transformations are a lot easier to accept because being a furniture has next to no positives. And they all lived happily ever after until the live-action version came along to ruin everything. You know, as bad as the live-action version was, I have one nice thing to say about it. At least now Linda Wolverton has gotten a taste of her own medicine. It really sucks when someone butchers your animated classic with a live-action disaster. So what did we learn here? Film is a media in which people working on the film can still do something great, even if there is a weak link in the process. All too often we see examples of bad writer, ergo bad movie, but everyone from the animators to the voice actors to the musicians did such a great job that Beauty and the Beast is still a piece of art that has touched so many hearts for generations. And I will admit that because I had such a vendetta against Maleficent, I might have gone looking for things to complain about. And I might also admit that when I reviewed Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty, I might have gone looking for positives since I had so much nostalgia for those movies. So you can take that into consideration when you examine what I say about these movies. Now let's do the rankings. So with the Disney Princess romances I've reviewed so far, I am ranking them from weakest to best so far. Snow White's and her prince, Cinderella and Prince Charming, Philip and Aurora, Belle and the Beasts, the romance in Encanto, Ariel and Eric, and the best so far being Merida and Faradatch. If you don't know who Faradatch is, watch my video about Bravely.
Too kind and gentle to fight back.
I'm just fooling myself. She'll never see me as anything but a monster. It's hopeless.
Very poor choice of words.
Beast!
Belle. You came back.
I love you.
So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and don't lose. Hey.